Well, as predicted by many of the scientific reports, it seems, at least according to one study, that lockdown may actually be making the coronavirus worse. Listen, we can be wrong. Science is often wrong. It doesn't mean we get mad about it. It means we adapt to the new information and we change. In the story from the Daily Mail, they say 66% of New York State coronavirus hospitalizations are people staying at home. We knew this to be the case. We knew this was likely because of reports we got earlier that you are more likely to contract this indoors than outdoors. The life of the virus is very, very short outside, and it lasts longer inside. So by having people stay indoors, we were increasing the likelihood they would contract the coronavirus. Now that we know this, can we please reassess the situation with new data? You know what the problem is? We're arguing on tribal lines. The people who are claiming they want to keep everything locked down aren't paying attention to the data. So here we go. There's also a funny side story in this. Apparently, the dude in the UK, the architect of the COVID-19 lockdowns, has resigned after flouting social distancing rules. It makes you wonder. You know, it's not confidence building when the dude who said, hey, everybody, there's going to be a million people, 2.2 million people are going to die. And then he goes and just doesn't care. And he wanted to apparently see his mistress, his married mistress or whatever. You know, you're trying to convince me to believe in you and to do this thing. And we got these studies coming out and then you go and do this. Yeah, I don't know if I believe you actually care anymore. Sounds like this guy doesn't believe his own assessment, right? Well, I don't care too much about what this one individual did because, people do people stuff, right? This guy, whether he believes it or not, whether the data is right or wrong, can be dumb. But we have new data that's more important. The Daily Mail says, the majority of people who are being hospitalized with coronavirus across the state of New York are staying at home and are not essential workers, new data has revealed. In a study of some 1,000 new patients admitted to New York hospitals over the last week, 66% were staying at home and 18% had come from nursing homes, meaning they either became infected by going out to get groceries or other essential items, or from seeing people outside of work. Governor Cuomo said they were clearly becoming infected as a result of personal behavior, something that can't be controlled by his lockdown, but that it stands because generally the numbers in New York are decreasing, whereas cases everywhere else in America are on the rise. So perhaps there is an argument that it's when they go out, they do something that contracts the virus, or these are people not staying are they staying at home or not? Are they going out and buying groceries or are they staying home? There are now 19,877 deaths in New York State and more than 321,000 cases of the virus. Across America, there have been more than 1 million cases and 72,000 deaths. Recent data shows that while New York's numbers are decreasing, the rest of America are on the rise. More than 80% of the new New York hospitalizations had not taken any public transport since the stay-at-home order began in March. And that number rose to 90% in New York City, but only 55% of study respondents answered the question on the transport. Of all new hospitalizations, 73% were over the age of 51. The worst affected group were people aged 61 to 70, who accounted for 20% of hospitalizations. Almost all of them had underlying conditions. That's 96%. So look, we know a lot about all of this other data stuff. I don't think we need to read through everything we already do know. I'm interested. Well, actually, let's do this. Let's talk about this dude. Elon Musk has apparently chimed in. He's upset because of lockdowns. We can see now, it looks like we're getting a handle on things. These are the total hospitalizations. They're going down as of May 5th. New hospitalizations are way down. So it looks like we hit that peak. I think it's fair to say social distancing worked. But doesn't mean we should keep doing it. I think the answer to that is no. I think now we need to slowly start reopening things, but we're still seeing a lot of people argue that we shouldn't. You know, man, far be it from me to tell you what we should and shouldn't do. You decide for yourself. And what we've seen across the board from New York to Texas is that people don't care. They're coming out of their homes. They're opening their businesses. I think at a certain point, people they're not interested anymore, you know? They've decided they're bored and they're going to come out. Well, when you hear stories about this hypocritical British professor who demanded that we must lock down, violating these orders, you'll see people like Elon Musk tweeting, "What a tool." And Elon Musk is very influential with 33.8 million followers. When you're already seeing people come out and breaking lockdown because they don't think it's, because they don't care. Many people who think it doesn't work. And then you see data suggesting it may actually make things worse. Then you take a very influential person. What do you get? You've failed. your lockdown is broken. Facebook is still deleting people for advocating the removal, the defiance of local ordinances and orders and stuff. But let me just tell you something. Let me remind you, YouTube, and you, Facebook, governor decree is not law. There is statutory law passed by legislature, and there is the governor just saying you can't do something. The governor doesn't have the authority to do that. The governor can, as my understanding, can tell law enforcement not to enforce something, but they can't enforce something that isn't on the books. There's apparently some contentious debate right now with Michigan, arguing the governor had no authority to extend the lockdown. She's actually acting against the law. In which case, will the police go arrest the criminals, please? They tell you on Facebook and YouTube that if you advocate for breaking the law, they'll delete you. Okay, well, I would certainly never do that. In which case, I think we have to actually have these governors who broke the law held accountable to whatever capacity they need to be held accountable. Now, I wonder if YouTube and Facebook actually means it, or if they're really saying support the lockdown or else. I don't know. I guess we'll find out if this video gets deleted. Daily Mail says, the billionaire SpaceX and Tesla tycoon is among many Americans who oppose strict social distancing measures and are voicing their anger at Professor Neil Ferguson for his hypocrisy. Musk also rubbished Professor Ferguson's fake science, which on the 17th of March forecast apocalyptic death tolls in the UK and US if both governments did not enforce social distancing. The Imperial College London scientists' worst case scenario of 2.2 million victims in the US is credited with spurring President Trump and the White House into action. The CDC issued social distancing guidelines days after Ferguson's report reached American experts. But the 51-year-old last night quit Britain's top scientific body after it was revealed his left-leaning lover, Antonia Statz, 38, left her $2.5 million home and traveled across London to spend the night with him. Ms. Statz has an open marriage with her husband. She also has kids and is risking infection of her family and Ferguson by doing so. That's why people are calling him out. But I do think it's important to point out that we can't argue if his projections were right or wrong because we did lock things down. What I want to stress, a point I've made before several times, please understand this. When they forecasted that a hurricane was going to hit Florida, everybody went out, locked things down, boarded up their windows, bought a bunch of supplies, and nobody complained when well, some people did, but for the most part, people didn't complain when the hurricane turned. They were relieved. So now to come out and argue this guy's forecast was wrong because it wasn't that bad, I think it's silly. I think the social lockdown, social distancing should be maintained 100%. I think we need to slowly start reopening things. For economic reasons, for health reasons, for mental health reasons, for food reasons, but we need to maintain social distancing. I got no problem with that, man. If you want to hand sanitize, wash your hands, man, you should have been washing your hands in the first place. They say Musk has now waded into the outcry echoing across both sides of the Atlantic after the hypocrisy was exposed. Responding to a tweet about Ferguson's resignation, the billionaire founder said, "What a tool." He then said, "Thanks, something more should be done. This guy has caused massive strife to the world with his absurdly fake science." I actually think Musk might be wrong, but you know what? I got to stop and say, Elon Musk is the tech billionaire, not me. I'm the news guy. I can tell you about what the news is reporting, what's being reported across the board, and potentially what's happening on the ground in certain parts of the world. But I can't tell you about whose science is right or wrong. I'd actually defer to Elon Musk, though I would actually defer to Niall Ferguson. But if this guy Ferguson is breaking his own, advice, I don't trust him. It makes it really hard to figure out what to do, right? I got to be honest. I guess you can err on the side of safety. Labeling him a moron, Musk wrote something more should be done. In a sweary conference call with investors last week, he even branded the United States social distancing measures fascist. I actually agree. Fox News host Tucker Carlson also seized on Ferguson's hypocrisy, saying he was obviously an appalling hypocrite. And many Americans back an easing of the lockdown, especially in central states, where the virus is not widespread yet, despite the total U.S. death toll passing 71,000. While Ferguson has quit his role on the Prime Minister's Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, SAGE, Imperial appears to be standing by him and said today that he continues to focus on his important research. Nah, this guy should probably be out. You know why? He may be right, but he's certainly breaking confidence in the system. I think there are a lot of problems with the lockdown, but I do think we made the right move. Better safe than sorry. Perhaps we've gone too far, however. For the time being, I don't know what to tell you. Donald Trump has a plan. He's actually advised Georgia to slow down. So I'm going to defer to look, there's a lot of people who want things to reopen, right? And I agree we probably should. I looked at the president, who is certainly not a Democrat. They really don't like him. And there's kind of a tacit agreement on how and when we should open. And it's not necessarily that Trump is saying stay closed, but he is saying go slow. I'll defer to him. Look, the Democrats will say Orange Man bad no matter what he does. Other protesters are saying open up now. Trump is saying do it in phases and do it slowly. That's actually the moderate, reasonable approach. If we're locked down for good, bad things happen. If we open up too fast, bad things happen. Let's play it slow. I'm not the scientist to tell you what we should or shouldn't do, though. Perhaps no matter what we do, people are going to lose their lives. But in the end, hey, it looks like the lockdown and quarantine at home may potentially be worse. Take that home with you, right? 66% of the people getting sick in New York are staying at home. What does that mean? Man, you can extrapolate a lot from that data, but I'll leave it there. You figure it out. Next segment's coming up in just a few minutes. Stick around. I will see you all shortly.